kind of good thing that happened. But I did note when you move around there, it's all by your thoughts in the astral plane. You don't move your body like you do here. I mean, you can to a certain degree, but if you want to travel around, it's by thought.
Is there a certain level of paralysis then that you're in?
Oh yeah, no, I was definitely in paralysis. And when I came back to my body, I was in paralysis for a couple minutes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't Trump. Definitely wasn't Trump. It was an old lady.
That's it. Well, I've heard that that's a common thing people see when they're in paralysis. That's like one of
Donald
the
Trump?
No, archetypes of like an old woman.
Oh.
Usually in a scary sense, though, like a bad sense.
Like a hag.
You know, it's kind of an interesting question, and I want to ask the fisherman here. Like, obviously, as Adventists, we think all that's forbidden, so like there is no good zone, pretty much, of like spiritual things like that. Not that we don't believe in like good angels, right? So, but I mean, it's almost like could God send a good angel if you were astral projecting with demons or whatever? Like, is that possible? You guys think of that? I never even thought about that. This never even crossed my mind. So I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that's a big no-no. I personally think God's gonna reach us in the realm that He created us in. That's my opinion. So like as soon as Terry was like, "Hey, I've been in a house that was haunted. I've dealt with demons." Kayleen knows. I'm like, "Yeah, let's do this," because I have confidence in the power of Christ. But that's still in the realm that I live. Like, I'm not gonna go Ouija board myself on Mars to then have a conversation with a supposed good angel, because the means in which I'm doing it is wrong. But if I'm living in the realm of which God has created me, that's where I expect angels to come to me down the ladder, Jacob's ladder, to have that interaction, and then we should be able to tell. In fact, I'll share a little story with you if you don't mind, to give you an example. One of the things that made me move to the East Coast was I was in an Uber car. So a friend of mine got a divorce and she needed help in South Carolina. So before I moved out to take care of my dad, I actually came out here and helped her as well for her house, getting the divorce, all that stuff. And when I was in the Uber car, the guy he was talking to me about stuff, and then all of a sudden he goes, "Oh, your middle name, or I'm sorry, your name is Matt." And I was like, "Yeah, my name's Matt." He goes, "Oh, I'm just saying that because that's my name." I was like, "Oh, well, that's really my middle name." And he goes, "Oh, well, that's my middle name too." I was like, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, my name's Raymond Matthew." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So all of a sudden, this guy, like, trust me, man, my name is really rare. This guy is talking to me, and then all of it, like, something clicked. We had the same name. That was weird, in the middle of nowhere, while I was out somewhere helping somebody. I was doing the right thing, right? I went out of my way to do the right thing, to love thy neighbor, not myself, kind of thing, right? So I was in the right place, in the right heart, in the right mindset, if you will. And then all of a sudden, when that happened, I said to him, I said, "Look, I don't know, what you have to tell me, but God, I really think God is giving me this moment. So whatever is on your mind, please tell me." This is an Uber driver driving me to my destination. And he says to me, I don't know if this matters, but to me, what impresses upon me on my heart is always put love over money. Well, I mean, I knew that. I mean, that's literally what I've been doing. So in my head, I was like, no duh. Like, in my head, I was like, no duh. Clearly that's been my life philosophy. No duh, kind of thing, right? But here's the twist. I recognize that I think that moment, an angel of the Lord, if you will, was speaking. Like, that moment, I can tell whether he's literally human or not. That's not the point. Something was so unique about the experience. And I've taken hundreds of Uber car drives, right? I mean, I used to live in San Francisco, the heart of Uber. the way that came together in that normal circumstance was magnitudes greater than any other normal circumstance I was having. And then he told me something that was so obvious to me. I've always preferred love over money kind of thing, right? This is a core tenet of Christianity. You can't serve both masters. It's either love or money, right? God or money. And so when he told me this, I was reflecting like, why is God telling me this, right? And I told him, I was like, thank you so very much. I mean, I don't know, that 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 was very impactful to me. I appreciate it. And right before I was about to leave out of the car, he hands me this little plastic bag, and the little plastic bag had some candy, a business card, and a cross, a little tiny cheap nickel cross. He was a Christian missionary that Ubers everywhere, and we didn't talk about anything Christian. Nothing Christian came out of his mouth, but somehow that registered to me, and he gave me the message I needed to hear. And I kid you not, on the second day, Kayleen and I were talking on the phone ever. She played a song to her dad. She let me hear a song that she just recorded to her dad, and it's I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. The whole premise of the song is having Christ love, God is love, more than money. And so on the second day of knowing Kayleen, she didn't know this. I was in love. I was set. I was done. I already knew, like, now I know why. Now I know why. And so like when you ask me that, no, if you're going and astral projecting, yeah, maybe he's going to say, maybe, yes, there's in the realm of possibility. God, of course, can do that, but you're in the place that is wrong. So unless that angel is saying what you're doing in astral projection is wrong, get yourself out of there, because you are doing something wrong, then I don't think it's an angel of the Lord. Like if it's going to be an angel sending you a message while you're doing something wrong, it should be a convicting message. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was an angel at all.
What do you mean?
I think it was another human. I think it was another person who was a more experienced astral projector who noticed me.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah,
like I think it was like an older like witch or something.
I didn't know if you were referring to my story or yours. I was like, wait a minute.
Like, I don't think that was one of God's angels. I think it was. I got the feeling it was a human.
Yeah. But you know what I mean by an angel, though, right?
I've had angelic experiences before, actually, as well. Which, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a human being.
Yeah. But I guess my question for you then is, do you see an angelic experience simply by the anatomy of the person? Like, meaning like it is an angel like a human, or can a human be an angel, meaning a messenger? He's bringing or she's bringing a message from the Lord. So not literally an angel, but a human bringing a message from the Lord. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they had human bodies. I don't know if they were human or not.
Yeah.
I don't think they were, because of just their nature.
The term angel, obviously, in the Bible can be used to just mean messenger, but it can also mean sort of a divine being.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of asking.
Or a being, a spiritual being, I guess. I don't know.
I do believe angels do manifest in human form, though, and oftentimes we run into them without. If you don't have the eyes to see, you won't know. But there's certain characteristics about them that are just, they're not like us. They don't live the way we do. It's kind of hard to describe. I mean, they may eat, or do things like that. I don't know how to describe it, but
that's all biblical.
Yeah, what they do and how they behave is very different. They're not. They don't. I don't know. They're not like us. I don't know how to describe them but I know them when I see them. At least I think I do. At least the times I've known.
So, Jamie, are you asking if God would send an angel like to help someone who's in this kind of realm, or what's the context?
Yeah, I never thought about it. Like if you're in some, like if you, like you're, say you're abducted by a UFO, people say if
Right.
you call on Christ, it'll end the thing, right? But what if, like, and then I was thinking, well, what does it even mean to be in that situation? Whether they're like, if you were there and then the person's just laying in their bed, but they're like in a trance, because, and then like if you're in that realm and it's a demonic attack, is it possible that God could send an actual like holy angel to save you from that? I've never heard that, and I thought, well, I don't see why that's not. It just like I've never thought that way because of the way I think of as an Adventist, but it's like that seems totally possible, like metaphysically possible. Anyway, I don't know. That's the idea. Just
And I
thinking it
think
out.
this is why the Bible does strongly encourage us not to go to these enchanted grounds. But I keep thinking about the demoniac in the book of Mark, I think. Um, he was trapped and Jesus met him where he was and rescued him. I don't think he had the ability to get out of that unless he had help from the divine. And Jesus specifically made a trip there to rescue. That's my thought.
Word. Well,
So what you're saying is you believe in second chance theology, and when we all go to hell, he will come down. I'm
no,
sorry, I couldn't resist.
delete. No, I don't think so. All right, Terry, keep going. Tell us some more stuff.
About what?
Just anything.
I don't know. Ugh. I feel like I've said kind of what I knew what to say. Were there any questions in the chat that came up?
Yeah, there was a wait. Shannon had one, and it's totally slipping my mind. Do you remember what you said, Shannon? She put Q by it. If you have a question,
Yeah,
if you
throw it
could
in
put
there.
a Q.
Well,
Was
I
that-
had one for
Mhm.
Terry. So you
Great.
talked about having a talent for this. How did you, or when did you know you had a talent, and how did that exhibit itself? What does that talent look like?
Good question. I like this question.
Um, well, I've had kind of supernatural experiences since I was really small, and been able to kind of discern spirits and just I don't know, like it just seems like been a part of my life, and uh, I guess when it all kind of came together and I started, I guess, formulating my career as a medium, it just all kind of clicked together. I really picked up reading or divining very quickly. It was just a couple of months before I was really a pro at it. And I don't know. I mean, a talent for, I guess that's what I would say, because I was able to, I also have just, I think, natural people skills and maybe a better ability to memorize, that kind of thing. So all of those things kind of blend together, where maybe I would be better at it than some other people. Okay, I'm thinking about talent for it. That is a good question.
You definitely struck me. I thought of the word empathic. She just has that sort of, and I don't mean to use that in any kind of weird way. Just
No, I mean, I do. Yeah, my mother on my side, on my mother's side, they do have a lot of empaths. My mother is one. My little brother is one. My uncle is one. At least in this generation, there's my great aunt was a psychic reader as well, empath, and she read playing cards, but she was illiterate. But she didn't charge money for her readings. She did them as like I don't know. She just did them as a service to people, or she would exchange gifts for people, or they would do favors for her readings, but she wouldn't take money for them. So I know I have a long line of that. I don't know if it's just in the blood and that it came that way. My father also kind of encouraged my psychic development and wanted me to be, I think he wanted me to kind of go into that anyway. So he, I think he noticed early on that I had kind of that proclivity, and he also had it on his line as well. Although on my father's line, there's more like I don't know, animal whisperers is what they're called. People who tame wild animals or who could speak to animals, or just had like clairsentience, like just would know things without knowing why. So yeah, I think in some ways, I don't know. I think the I think the darkness was trying to get me a long time.
I
You
was
know?
gonna say it seems a little like out of bounds for the demonic to interact with small children, but maybe it's just something because you started to talk about family, and this could be generational. Because I have a best friend from back home who had interactions with things like floating in the room and stuff when she was a kid.
Oh yeah,
But it's because for generations, grandparents, great grandparents, they had interactions with spiritualism.
I think so. I mean, I remember being very small, and I used to see dead people, like, um, like, or decaying spirits would. When I would go to bed at night, they would start at the end of the room, and they would like walk up to my bed and then just disappear, like evaporate, kind of like a mist. And it was creepy. It was creepy, like.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, and then I became a medium that was like contacting the dead, like as an adult. It is kind of interesting how that
Yeah.
happened.
Okay, I got
So,
some
yeah. Oh, okay.
questions here. Thank you, Brother Timothy, for your super chat. Terry, have you ever experienced prolific dreams? It's a question somebody had.
Oh, prophetic?
Or, yeah, I guess he means prophetic, yeah.
Yes, I've had prophetic dreams. I've had dreams that have come true, or I've had visions and dreams that told me things I needed to do. I've also had just visions. I would say more of the prophetic stuff I've had has come in visions than dreams, though. But I definitely do or have had dreams that were giving me a message.
That is a huge connect.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah, that is quite. I mean, that is a specimen there. I say so myself.
Yeah, absolute unit.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about that as such. I mean, I don't know if that's unique to me or if it's normal for people. I think people get messages in their dreams all the time that, because I did actually do dream interpretation for people as well, for friends and the like, as well. Just people will tell me about their dreams and I'll help them sort them out, because a lot of people just don't know how to read dream imagery, or they'll have an intense dream they don't know how to really process. But if you know kind of the language of symbolism, it's pretty easy to discern what's happening. So, yeah.
Did the spirits, or I don't know, were you told things about people that you wouldn't otherwise know, and it kind of built up your credibility?
Yes. Like when I was doing readings for people, yes.
Okay.
But I was always hesitant to give too much information. You know what I mean? There were times like when I would do a reading for someone, I was reading for a woman once, and I could tell that her husband was having an affair. but I chose not to tell her because that's not why she came to me. And I felt like if I didn't want to be responsible for opening that can of worms, but I could, it was very clear, like coming through, I was getting that message very strongly, but I'm like, she didn't come to me for this. This is not what she's asking me about. It would be irresponsible for me to give her that kind of information, which will implode her world. Like, so I got a lot of information that I didn't necessarily share with people. Like I did have my own, I guess, bizarre code of ethics about it. Like I didn't want to dazzle people or impress people. Like I really just wanted to try to assist them with whatever they were coming to me with. But I did get stuff like that coming through, like very personal stuff, or people often, the number one reason that people come to a psychic reader, is usually for relationship advice. So you get all kinds of detail coming through, and even like looking at the cards, a lot of it wasn't in the cards. It just, I knew. I would get all of this information about people. Sometimes I'd be able to describe them. Or I'd ask questions. I'm like, does this person wear glasses? Like, is this, person dark haired? Like things like that, little details that wouldn't necessarily be apparent. You do get stuff coming through, and that's the thing, like with the cards or like any form of divination, those are just like a tool of opening up you. It's like the cards are like there for reference, but you're really the thing that's being operated on, the person doing the reading.
Did you also find the spirits to be manipulative? And I guess I'm thinking more when you were exiting. Did they try to manipulate you to stay in that kind of thing?
Let me think. Spirits a bit. I would say the spirits kind of came through other people, though. Like it wasn't working on me directly. They were like influencing other people. Like when I decided that I was going to stop doing readings, I did tell some people, and I had one woman like react like, "Oh, you can't do that. This is a source of income for you. Like you're going to regret this," that kind of thing. That woman didn't know me that well, and I was like, yeah, but I'm done. It was in my soul. I was done. And I wasn't alone there. I had another friend there with me, and she was like, I can hear it. You're done. She kind of backed me up. Then I had, obviously my clients, a lot of them were coming to me, like these people who had gotten readings from me for years, and they felt very, like that they really were invested in the work that we'd been doing together in their minds. And of course they'd invested money, and they'd also felt like the advice I gave them was like always solid and helpful. And maybe in some ways it was. I do think that they will give accurate information, but like ultimately the goal is to deceive you. You know what I mean? It's like you may get it and accurate information, but ultimately the goal is to trap you in something. And I noticed that with some people, like they were getting set up by these readings.
I have a personal story on that, if you don't mind.
Of course.
It was just before I moved from California to take care of my dad. My ex-girlfriend, who was totally into tarot readings, this whole thing that I was kind of explaining to you before. I actually brought her to a psychic. This is what she's comfortable with, blah blah blah. Obviously, I'm familiar with it because of my dad. And I bring her to a psychic, and it turns out it was a random psychic, just random. And it turns out it was right next door to her wedding dress alteration, whatever. Because she got married, and it lasted like 6 months. It lasted 6 months until she started talking to a person who does psychic readings. Then she started talking to him on email and got caught by her new husband, and they got a divorce right away. So it totally ruined her marriage and it broke her down. But then she got stuck on this whole. She still got sucked into it. The thing that destroyed her marriage, she got stuck into it. But anyways, so it turns out the psychic reading place was right next. It was when I say next door, it's literally next door. It was the wedding thing. This is San Mateo in Northern California. So we're talking random. There's dozens of these places. I still can't believe that happened. So anyways, I bring her in there, and the first thing that happens when I walk in, this short, older Indian lady, right? So now we're dealing with chakras, that whole thing, that realm of spiritualism. I walk in, and I kid you not, the lady goes like this weird, like her eyes opened up, whatever. I noticed it, but but I didn't say anything. I let it go, right? So I go and I've had the conversation. I bring her in and I tell her what's going on. I'm like, look, um, I respect my girlfriend at the time, but I didn't. I don't think it's going to work out. So it's like almost a way for me to break up, but not like you said in the beginning. It's about relationships, and she goes through her readings and blah blah blah. Conversation, and at the very end, she said, "Look, Matt, did you notice my reaction to you when you walked in?" I said, "Yeah, I did. I mean, I thought maybe I smelled bad or something, because I always got to be funny. I can't take things seriously, right? I'm like, I thought maybe I smelled bad or something." She goes, "No, no, no. I have never experienced that much power come into my presence." That's what she said. Okay, I don't know what that means, but all right. Then she proceeds to say this. I I'm telling you, do not travel. She has no idea what I'm planning on doing. The whole reason was I was going to leave and travel to go take care of my dad in Virginia. So I was on the West Coast in San Mateo, California, or close to San Mateo, but south of San Francisco. And then you're local when you get technical. But anyways, to live in Virginia Beach, to move across the country, Virginia Beach. We're talking the beach. The reason why that matters is she goes don't travel, especially don't go near water. Don't go anywhere near water. So you stay put and you don't go anywhere near water. And in my head, I'm just like, first of all, I'm a United States Marine. There's nothing like I'm arrogant and I'm a punk. You can't tell me, in my head. Second of all, I have the power of the Lord with me. What do you mean? I'm not gonna be scared. But she was trying to scare me from moving. But she doesn't know. She doesn't know what I was doing. She had no idea that I was already planning to move across the country and live in Virginia Beach by the water to take care of my dad. Now, if I took her advice, I would never have moved to Virginia. I would never have ended up meeting my wife. I would never, like, all these things that came together. I would never have actually have met the angel, if you will, or someone who seemed to have a message for me in South Carolina, because that's the first place I went over. So when you say that, I mean that resonates home, because now we're talking 3-4 years later. It was 2025, so we're talking 5. It's been 5 years. Jeez, Kaylin, 5 years. What the? 5 years later, I can look back and be like, that she was trying to keep me. She was trying to stop me. She was trying to trap me from coming here and fulfilling what I think God has put in my life. Like, it was a trap. Like, she had me thinking like, as soon as I walked in, she had this weird reaction. Very like it wasn't negative, but it was clearly out. Like she had a physical reaction to stand back, and then an hour and a half later, she concludes to tell me why she reacted that way, and then says, you can't go across the country, travel anywhere far, anywhere near water." Like, geez, man. And if I fell for that, I would have been scared and terrified, trapped living in San Francisco. So yeah, like that, what you just said resonates home to me more than that I could describe. Like there's an emotional feeling there that I can only imagine how many other people are experiencing on a daily basis when they're being trapped like that.
And see, the evil spirits, they knew that where you were going was near water, and it's so manipulative and it's a little flattering. They try to flatter you as well to trap you.
Yeah, I definitely felt flattered.
To say
That
so far, I want to just say to the audience that thank you so much for joining. This is the largest audience I've ever had. I would thank you all for showing up. I know Terry's probably got more on her channel going, which is great. The comment of the night so far, and it's I'm lighthearted, so don't get offended, people. But I think if I understood it, the lesson of the story is never listen to a rib. I think that was a diss on the females there. Maybe I thought that was funny. I thought that was cute.
Yeah, never, ever, 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 but never tell your problems to a woman. I want to react to Yoda. He said that I pulled the same trick sometimes. I don't think I ever flattered anyone like that. Like, honestly, if somebody said that to me, I would be very suspicious. Like, I don't know. When I was first getting into, I guess, reading for people, I read a lot about charlatans or tricksters that try to con people, and like things that they use, ways of telling if your reader is legitimate or not, basically. And I was like, okay, well, what do these people do? And one of the big thing is that they use is flattery. Like they'll tell you have powers, or something special about you. They'll try to manipulate your desire to be special, which most people have. Or they'll try to manipulate you by instilling fear, saying you have a curse on you or something like that, or even you have some need to worry, or you need to buy more. Basically, it's a trap to get you to spend more money a lot of the time. And a lot of like I said, with people that are involved in occult practices, they're very rarely only involved in one thing. Like for me, I was very eclectic. I was doing all kinds of things. So most readers are as well. You may be going for a tarot reading, but this person is probably involved in all kinds of occult practices that you don't know about. And a lot of them are doing like witchcraft on the side as well. I mean, most readers I knew were witches, and they did spell work. They sold many different types of services like that for people. So they're out there doing all kinds of things that you probably don't want to get involved in.
If I could share a short personal story as well. My uncle, he just passed away a couple weeks ago. He died, I believe, in his deception. And it wasn't he wasn't actively trying to be in the spiritualism realm, but he wanted to have such a close walk with God that he desired to speak to God, like literally. And he would go out to the beach for hours and just try to get God to talk to him. And eventually something did begin talking to him, and it flattered him. It made him feel special. It started to tell him things about people in the community that he wouldn't know. And eventually that same voice began to tell him to do things that weren't biblical. And when he tried to correct the voice on those elements, then that spirit being started to, I would say, play the silent treatment game. If you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm not going to treat you special anymore. You're not going to be a special human on the earth with special relationships with the spirit world. So it's so interesting that on both sides they play the same game. Very interesting.
Yeah, I think an important part you left out is maybe I'm wrong. He was an elder, right? Wasn't he like an elder in the church or?
Yeah, so he actually went to college, studied theology to be a pastor. He was an elder in the church, and growing up, he was that uncle that, encouraged us kids go to prayer meeting, and he was sincere, but he replaced the scriptures with this voice. He didn't even feel the need anymore to study the Bible, because why read God's word when you can just hear it directly? And that's a deception. And I think that's why we have those examples of Christ answering the angel of light with "it is written," because that's the only guard, the guardian, the rule of faith to guard us from these things.
And if you don't mind me adding or asking on that, when you did, I'm assuming you and I didn't really talk about this. This is new to me too, guys, everybody, on this part. When you did ask him or confront him, I'm assuming your mom, I'm assuming you saying that about the scriptures. Somebody confronted him with the scriptures. And my question to you is, if that happened, what was his response? Was it like, well, I have an exception because God made me special or something, or what was it?
So he anticipated a lot of our scriptures, and every once in a while we would catch him, and he would pause, and then he would come back later with some profound, well, clever twisting that really ultimately didn't make sense, but it settled his mind. And he actually believed that he was in a spiritual test. So we could show him from scripture, because the voice eventually told him to do things like commit adultery and things like that. And it's like, yeah, but so you are allowed to sin and even Jesus can't? Like, you have more privileges than than Christ himself. Um, no,
Yeah,
I'm in a
when the
special.
spirit says you can cheat on your spouse, that's a sign right there. I'll tell you right now.
No, he believed he was in a special test. He actually said that if the Bible was being written in this time, his story would be in the Bible. And this is it's very sad. He was very deceived, but he was also very flattered. So, and I only tell this story because I'm listening to Terry's what she's describing, and I'm thinking, wow, like it's the same game and they play it on both sides, and it's going at our ego, that self wanting to be like God. And that's the deception. And I think that's the danger.
Wow, that sounds like stuff Terry you were saying to me. I heard. Never mind.
Well, yeah, I'm that story is very like, I don't know, it just hit me in the heart. God's voice is a voiceless voice, you know. He doesn't need to speak to us that way. Um, I do think I've heard the voice of God once in my life. I don't expect to hear it again. If I do, it'll be amazing, but I really don't.
Do
He's
you
not going to be chatting with us all day, telling us this and that. Like, we're supposed to be seeking him, you know, like, and we're supposed to be here living our lives. Like, it's so, like, why do we crave or want more than like what he's already given us? He's given us so much and we don't even appreciate it. You know, if we could just be in the moment and be in the present where he is, like, we'd see him, you know. Oh, my heart, yeah, that story, it just, my heart is like very hit by that.
Yeah, and my mom and her sisters, it's about 10 of them. Well, it was 10. This had been going on for about 20 years. They've been battling. I think my mom tried every scripture in the Bible she could think of. It is a sad story, but it is a warning to all of us.
I mean, yeah, it just, there's so many signs too that they give that they don't mean you well too. That's the other thing. But like this spirit saying it would leave him, God doesn't leave us or forsake us. No, that's, you know, God doesn't lead us into temptation or lust or sin.
You know, that's actually my favorite. That's actually my favorite biblical, hymn.
Mm.
It's ready? Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run it. Oh, sorry. Isn't that a hymn? Pretty sure it's a hymn.
Might as well be, right?
Keep
It's,
going.
I don't know, yeah, it's amazing. But, and this was a man who should have known better too. Anybody can be deceived. Like, don't, that's the other thing I would say about this. Like, you know, be careful who you listen to, who you follow, who you trust. You know, anybody can be deceived. Your walk with the Lord is your own.
Well, Terry, tell
Bibby.
What was that? Sorry.
Oh, I was saying good night to Lord Bibby, who says it's bedtime for him.
So tell us, keep going in your story. Go tell us how you became a Jesus freak or whatever.
Right. Well, I became a Christian as a child. Like, I remember the presence of, I don't know what I thought. I felt the presence of God when I was really small. Like, I felt this loving figure there that I didn't know how to describe, that was with me and just holding me. And like, I did have a kind of, I guess my early childhood was pretty painful because of my parents' separation. So I just felt this love and presence with me that sustained me. My father, though, he had custody of me and he was not a Christian. And unfortunately, he never became one to my knowledge. But he was convinced by my uncle, who is a Christian, to have me attend church when I was small. I think I was 4 the first time I was taken to a church for some kind of event, and that was when things kind of clicked for me and made sense. Like, oh, that's who this is, right? It kind of put it in a bigger context. Like, okay, this spirit that I feel, this presence is like. It's more like a Brussels sprout. Okay. Okay. I like Brussels sprouts, so thank you. But yeah, I didn't go to church regularly until I was a bit older. I think I was 7 when I befriended a Christian girl who invited me to church, and that's when I started attending regularly. I got saved and baptized. I became very passionate about it. But yeah, there was some fallout with the church. The church that I was attending, in retrospect, with my adult eyes, is not one I would attend now. There was a lot of, I don't know, it was an evangelical kind of non-denominational free-for-all mess. So not a lot of structure, not a lot of, there was all kinds of things going on that were just, not solid. But then after that, I ended up leaving that church. I ended up attending occasionally in my neighborhood a Episcopal church. since that was the closest one. But again, my father was not a Christian, so it did make it kind of difficult for me to be active in a church on my own. And I basically stepped away from my faith probably around the age of 13 or so. And I did get into, at that time, witchcraft to a certain degree, but I gave that up within a couple of years. It was just kind of like a phase I had until I like became an adult and went full blown into it. I didn't get into how I got into the occult as an adult, though. I guess I could tell that or talk about that.
Please.
So I was living in a house that was very haunted. I don't know how, like, there's so many experiences I had in the house, but for example, Nunya Biz asked, how do you leave a church you're baptized into? So I guess in my faith understanding and tradition, you're not baptized into a church, you're baptized just as a Christian. It's not a church that you're getting baptized into. So, okay, but anyway.
Because we're evangelical / Baptists, Protestant. Huh? That's the Protestant view, basically. If you got baptized in the name of Jesus or the Trinity, then it's a
yes, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Yes, then your baptism is valid. So yeah, it doesn't. You could go to a number of different churches with that baptism, and it would be considered valid. Okay, so anyway, living in that house for a number of years, I had a number of spooky experiences, but I never really took it too seriously until it became like completely unmanageable. So I had one night a dream where I was walking down the sidewalk and a large black figure was walking past me. And I just had this recognition like of, wait a minute, that's not right. That person's not, or whoever this isn't supposed to be here, you know? And I went up to them and confronted them in my dream. Like I ran up and was like, what are you doing here? And at that moment I woke up and there was this large black mass over me that was attacking me. And I somehow shot up, I don't know how, from my back. And I was not in good shape at this time either. So I don't know how it happened, but I like ended up like in this crouching stance. And this thing shot across the room and I could see it. And it had this, I would say, demonic or elemental kind of appearance. There were horns at the top that were kind of like, I don't know, animal horns. And it was vaporous. I could see through it, but the eyes were a different color than everything else. Everything was black, but the eyes had this like orange kind of color almost. And it was just there. And I was like looking at this thing, and it took like a couple minutes for it to kind of fade out of view. And after that point, every single night until I left that house, I dealt with some kind of attack from that thing. And so it was a couple months. I actually ended up moving out, thank God. And the attack stopped once I moved out. So I don't know if it was like attached to that area. I think it might have been because I'd had so many different experiences in that house. The first night I moved into it, I had my blankets pulled off of me